I wonder if later someone can explain how this glue material can interfere or harmonize with the plasma energy.
Well, I've got some ideas about that, but depends if it's made out of horse's hoof or whether it's out of polyethylene, I believe, as in hot glue. Okay, looks like we'll start out here, and I think I've got my sound. There we go. We've got the sound. We've got this. Well, first of all, it's Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016. Keshe Plasma Reactor Group, and once again here we are gathered to show and tell various things, and as we can see, we have this strange contraption here that we have to get explained to us. Explain something to us, Mr. Lee Coates here. You have to explain yourself when you make something like this.
Well, I'm just following the Q24 blueprint that was the boys have been building on the golden age of Gans.
Do they require up to 5 pounds of glue as mandatory as part of the blueprint, or how does that go?
They seem to.
I understand just to get it to stick to the glass, you need about that much.
Actually, it doesn't stick to the glass. That's the problem. Yeah. So in the center, can you see my mouse pointer there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that in the center, there's a 4-inch by 4-inch by 4-inch glass vase.
Okay, we'll take your word for that, because it reminds me of the 70s when you have these candles you put on the glass vase and it just melts all over it. You can't see the vase anymore. It's similar.
Yeah. So it's got the little aluminum cones in the 6 of them in that cube there. They all point into the center.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got these plasma battery capacitors around the outside of them, 24 of them. So that's why they called it Quantum 24. It's got 24 of those.
Each one is round, is that right? Round capacitor.
That's right, because on the input side, they tie the 2 coils, twist them together. And then the output side is just the wraps around the capacitor. So they're a little bit different to make than what the Keshe blueprint says, but seem to work. So you'll notice to hold this down, I got a couple of little notches in the wood that you can't see here that support the glass phase. And then I got a tie wrap around the top, and then on each piece of wood I got a tie wrap holding it down, so it's tied nice and tight to the wood support here. This clamp here, took the hacksaw to electrical box, so I'm using the 2 clamps in the box and the ground screw there, so that the ground wires are tied to that ground screw, so the cables can't pull out of that. Yeah, I can zoom it. How about that?
Hey, cool.
And I got the circular base on there because I found this flower pot over at the dollar store for $3.50. So that's covers the whole thing and makes it safe. So that's this week's project.
Makes it safe. Yes, right. Well, that's great. That's pretty cool. I'm wondering about the hot glue. That is hot glue that you use, not some other kind of adhesive, right?
Yeah, that's hot glue.
Mm-hmm. And like generally it would be like a polypropylene or a polyethylene possibly. But either way, it's I'm just looking at it in Wikipedia here. It's could be, have a certain amount of wax in it, and basically it's got the hydrogens and so on as part of this base. I'm just wondering what kind of attributes it might have that could lend toward a favorable outcome, whatever that might be in this case.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the boys is just slathered on like crazy. Everything gets encapsulated all around that piece of glass in the center, so it's the hot glue that's holding the whole thing together. Because
Yeah.
nothing sticks to that glass, or it doesn't appear to. So it seems to stick until you dip it in the ashes to nano coat it, and then it just falls off the glass.
Right. Yeah. I was going to suggest you could heat up the glass as well. If you heat it up quite a bit to start with, just probably even over boiling temperature, then the hot glue will stick to it fairly readily. But then if it's nano coated, you might be out of luck.
Yeah. Well, then you spray it with coconut oil, and
Oh yeah.
of course the oil gets in behind there, and nothing sticks to that glass no matter what.
Yeah.
Mr. Cotes, this is Sylvester Belso from Keshe Foundation Manufacturing. I heard that you said that it works. Can you explain us what you mean about it works? So what this device should do to order to say it works?
I say it works because I plug it into the power here, and I'm getting power out out of the power bar on the other side. Okay, so just like the Keshe one, there's no direct contact between the positive hot wire going in and any of the other wires in there, because they're all wrapped around the plasma capacitor. So I'm assuming I got plasma energy coming out. I haven't done. I mean, I did a 5-minute test on this, and had the watt meter on there, and the watt meter was it was slowly dropping off. So I built this one for a guy in Edmonton. A friend of mine, so I'm gonna send it up there. But
and what is the purpose of making such a device? I see it's creating such a big heat because your heater is melted.
Yeah, that melted long ago. But that was just.
Mr. Keshe always asking, is always the question, what you would like to achieve. So what you would like to achieve to build this machine?
This can power the house. I don't know what the maximum wattage on this output is. They say the Q6s will put out 5,000 watts. I don't know whether that's been rigorously tested or not. And this Q24 is supposed to be more powerful than that. So it's I haven't the most I've had on these is about 1,600 watts so far. I haven't.
What do you mean put out? Do you mean that's the most you can load it up with? It doesn't mean that it's self-sustaining that amount, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part I haven't tested. I don't know what it would self-sustain or put out.
You think with all those plasma batteries, it would have some sort of self-sustaining qualities. At least to power a cell phone or a charge a AA battery or something, surely.
Well, there a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, the boys were saying it would charge a car battery, and they were trying to get it as a standalone energy device, but that's not working. I've been running that test for over a week in my garage, and it's not charging the car battery. So, and I noticed a video during the week this week where they're actually putting a solar cell on it to charge the car battery and then getting the power out. So, so I think the idea that it can self-sustain and charge the car battery is false. So far, anyway, is what.
Well, I think
my results are.
I think that the best test, run that thing for a couple of weeks on, say, 1,000 watts, and then cut into the output wire and see if you're getting any plasma evidence. I think that would be probably one of the more definitive tests that we could do with this.
Yeah, I got 2 Keshe units that I made down on my electrical panel downstairs. I was thinking of replacing, putting one of these down there just instead, and seeing how that affected my power bill. But that's sort of a long-term test.
Yeah, I'm not sure about mixing the two, because we know the MagRav unit, the stacker unit, is going to nano coat your wiring. So it may nano coat that device, even though, even if that device is not doing anything. That's
Exactly.
an inductive pathway for the electricity. I don't know. I haven't studied these things, so I can't really say for sure.
But definitely, if you John, you're 100% right. If you want to have a clear understanding of this, creation, what this does and how it functions, definitely have to create a clear environment which not affected by other devices like Mr. Keshe plasma device. So that, yeah, it's important. Thank you, John.
Yeah, you'd have to install that in a fresh house, let it run for a couple of 3-4 weeks, and then cut into the wires and see if you're seeing evidence of nano coating.
Yeah, I got way too many Keshe plasma devices running in my house right now to do a good test, I guess. The other thing is you put the little electric, the circuit tester, and it starts buzzing about 4 inches away from this thing. So that's another indication that something's happening. So that's similar to what the Keshe devices are putting out.
Yeah,
Yes,
that just generates a magnetic field. That has nothing to do with plasma. I mean, we're using it. We can see that the magnetic field is growing with the Keshe devices over time, but they're not measuring the plasma. They're just measuring the matter state magnetic vibration of the unit.
That's true.
Yes. And Mr. Coates, you mentioned that you have several Mr. Keshe device in your home. So again, it's very important if you want to really understand this creation, what these things can do, or what is the performance of these things. You have to create an environment, as John pointed out, because if you're putting into an environment different devices, those devices, going to create an environment which you cannot clearly understand, which device does what.
Yep. Well, I'm going to ship this off to Edmonton to my friend, and he's got no other device in his house, so he can do the test.
Yeah, because it soon sounds to me that you're spending a quite energy and time and efforts to some direction. So to order to create a clear path for yourself, it's very important to find out as soon as possible if the direction is something which you want to follow, and that way you can focus your energy into the right direction.
Has the innovation group at the Keshe Foundation ever built one of these and tested it that you know of?
The innovation group is actually following Mr. Keshe technology, and as far as I understand, I never see Mr. Keshe explaining such a device which I'm seeing right now over here. Please, gentlemen, whoever is here, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong at all. Mr. Keshe is at more than an arm's length away from these things.
What happened is it was one gentleman who brought up the idea of creating something that he demonstrated. As I remember in my memories, he started to communicating, saying that he's have such a communication. Then in one point, Mr. Keshe, very gentle, wanted to drive the gentleman into the right directions, and right now it's just like going into very interesting, so to speak. I want to use the right words into such a things, but again, it's very important to point out that Mr. Keshe Foundation, and exactly this, but actually this foundation is not Mr. Keshe Foundation, as he's pointing out many times, but what we call right now is Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and Innovation Centers. They actually working on Mr. Keshe innovated technologies, the plasma technologies, and all these other directions which basically merged from that seed, as we can say. But what I see over here is not related to that. It's have certain parts which people, when they're saying they're subscribing this, they're saying this plasma batteries and this and that, but they're definitely using a technology or using a way of path of producing such devices, which clearly can be distinguished from Mr. Keshe direction.
I would agree with that. Just going off in a different direction for sure. So, anyway.
Yes, and This is why I'm saying, because amazing people. Everybody is beautiful. I mean, you are amazing, a human being, and you have this great energy to do great things. I'm 100% sure that the reason why you're doing this is because you want to create, you want to do something great for not just for yourself but for humanity. And to order to very quick and short find out if the energy and the time you're spending on such a things is useless. I'm sorry, is useful or have a reason, and have a clear explanations that yes, you should do that. This is why John and I myself also encouraging you to create an environment and try to find out. I mean, there's a clear indication how Mr. Keshe suggesting, and in the beginning, if you're following the knowledge seeker workshops, is clear path. How you can create an environment when you can find out if the device you're building or the things you're putting together, or they have a reasonable reasonable explanation. Yes, you can do it, or you're just going to find out that it's not the direction to go. So then you can go and immerse yourself into the right directions. I mean, it's not such a thing as the right direction, but at least gathering together with people and follow things which can work.
Okay.
Yeah, keep in mind, Lee, we don't want to discourage you, but we do need to point out that the Q devices are not Keshe devices.
Well, I agree there. They're not Keshe devices, but if they work and they're like I got 4 Keshe generators running in my house right now, and if you count the spaceship design, the 5 in there, I got 9 of them running, and my power bill has not gone below what it was last year. I'm assuming my house is getting all nano-code and that good stuff, and maybe next month it'll finally get below. But for 3 months, it hasn't shown any savings. So,
Where do you have,
question whether they're working.
where do you have the devices attached to your house?
Okay, 2 of them are downstairs at the panel, 1 on each phase. So I pulled the wire off a 15 amp circuit. I plugged the 15 amp circuit load into the load side of the generator and tied the MagGrav device into the 15 amp breaker on the power side.
Okay.
And then I got one up the stairs in the bedroom. That's all it's got on it is a electric clock. So it doesn't have much on it. And the other one is on the fridge circuit, but basically that's the only plug on the circuit. So that's similar to what the ones on the panel downstairs are on.
Okay, the 2 that are on your panel are not doing anything for your house. All of the reflected plasma from any load that they're seeing is going directly into the grid.
Why wouldn't that? If you look at the latest manual, it's showing to hook it up. That's exactly how it shows to hook it up.
Not necessarily. That's one way to hook it up. The initial idea when the MagGravs came out was to nano-coat the grid as fast as possible. That's why it was suggested to put it on your breaker. But that does very little for your home. Then I think the next workshop I made the suggestion that would it not make more sense to put it at the very end of your circuit, so it nano-coats your home and then it'll go out into the grid. And that was
that's what I did in December, and I had about 2 units running with 1,000 watts on each one and running steady. And normally I wouldn't run those loads, so that's when my power bill doubled.
Right.
So I quit doing that.
Yeah.
Just 1 second, one question, John. Mr. Coates, you're saying that you have Mr. Keshe device. This device is purchased from Keshe Foundation or built by someone else?
I have 1 purchase from the foundation. I've built the other 3.
Okay. There is anyone, how can I say, tested these 3 which you build, or you have any photograph about that? Maybe that also would be very important if you want to go just to
Yeah.
clarify.
Well, back in when I first built them back in December, I had the watt meter, and then I had say 500 watts before the plasma device, and then the plasma device, and then 500 watts after the plasma device, and it showed about a 10% savings on the watt meter. Okay,
Mhm.
so that was the indication that the devices were working, the ones I built.
Okay. Okay. You know about the ratio. When you put a load on the device, you're getting about 4 to 6 times as much of that load reflected back into the circuit that it's plugged into. So with your clock radio, you're using maybe 5 watts.
Yeah,
So
but there's nothing in the house that runs steady. That's the problem.
Okay.
So to get the devices on the far end, you're what the heck do you have in your house that runs steady? I mean, there's next to nothing.
My point is to get the maximum benefit for your house right off the bat, you need to have as much of your house between the meter and the maggrav as you can get.
Okay.
And you need to have a decent load on the maggrav. It doesn't have to be 1,000 watts. 500 is fine. 400 is okay. The more you put on it, the faster your house is going to nanocoat. Once your house is completely nanocoated and the plasma starts to travel out into the grid, it's very, very likely you won't even need the maggrav anymore. Yeah,
well, that was what I was doing the first 2 months, but I was putting the loads on there which I would normally run, and my electricity bills are doubled. So I quit doing that. That's when I went back and put them right at the panel, where I have the circuit on the load side of the maggrav, the 150 amp circuit, and the one on each side of the panel. The 2 phases, because that power is being used all the time. So that was how I got rid of not running the extra load in the house to made my power bill go up.
Right. The unit on your fridge is about 300 watts. It's probably a quarter horse, and it's intermittent. So that's going to be really, really slow.
I agree there, but as I say, there's next to clock radios or clocks. There's nothing in the house that runs steady. So,
well, do you have what kind of electronics, like TV, stereo? Do you have new quality stuff that when you push the button, you hear a little click and all the lights come on?
Well, the one circuit from the panel downstairs has got the living room and my computer or my office on it. So it's got the computers and the television. And
okay, that would be a good place to put your maggrav unit. If you have a newer TV, or if you run your computer 24/7 like I do, that would be an excellent load for the system. The newer TVs, even when you shut them off, they're still drawing, a significant 40, 50 watts.
Yeah, it's not a newer TV. Mine's the old one.
Old tube type? Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's got tubes in it, but it's old.
Okay. But yeah, it sounds like your office would be a better location for it. If you have I'm not sure about the wall warts. They were having trouble with those at the lab. But if you have a charging station for your cell phones and all of that sort of stuff, that would be another spot to put them on, because those wall warts draw constantly as long as they're plugged in. Can't really suggest for your house. Sounds like you've probably gone over it fairly well. Water heater's not such a good thing. They're about 6,000 watts. That's a little too big a load.
We got gas here anyway, so that's
okay. Yeah, sorry, I can't really suggest much other than you want a nice steady load on the unit, and you want as much of your house between the unit and your meter as you can get.
Okay, what about the cascading idea where you have the one maggrav at the panel and one maggrav at the far end? Can that be the same circuit? Is that supposed to be the same circuit, or is that?
It won't really be at the panel per se, because it's what's between the two units is going to get a little extra boost, because it's going to act as a load for the first one, and it's going to get a reflection from the second one. So okay. It will assist as well. Plus, keep in mind the reflection from the end unit is going to go back through the first unit and feed whatever's in front of that a little bit more energy too. So again, you want to have your devices between the meter and your maggrav unit, because that's where the most of the energy from the maggrav is being produced, or being supplied, I should say.
Okay, so when we feed it back to the panel, it just doesn't go into the other circuits from the panel.
Well, some of it does. There will be a little bit there, but most of it's just going to go right out into the grid.
Then I always question whether that stupid smart meter is measuring anything going into the grid and whether I'm paying for it.
Well, we did have one fella in, I can't remember if it was Ontario or Quebec. He mentioned that his smart meter figured out that he was putting stuff into the grid and started metering him for that. And he was paying for the energy he was putting back.
How did he figure that out?
I don't know. I haven't ripped a smart meter apart. They tend to put people in jail to do that. So,
Yeah.
You know, I've got the Wi-Fi that I can break into it, but I don't want to, because I don't really want to go to jail.
Okay.
But we've had a couple of people now. Dave's having trouble down in Peru with some of his systems, and they had it hooked up the same way you do, where they have them right on the panel, and their power bill went up. And we've had one other fella that reported the same sort of thing, and I didn't get enough detail from him to know how he set his system up. But pretty much everybody who's got them at the end of their circuits are having fairly good results.
Okay. Well, rearrange them.
Salma has.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, with the way things are today, it's really hard to get a 500 watt load. You know, you have to dance pretty fast to come up with that kind of energy, unless you've got a greenhouse or you're growing plants or something. You got a 500 watt LED panel that's running all the time.
Yeah, the biggest load I got is my computer being charged up all the time. That's runs steady. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's a good 250 or 300 watts constant.
So
that's actually a decent load. You should see, somewhere in around, well, it depends on what you're using in your house. But if you have a 300 watt load on the maggrav system, once your house is completely done, you should be getting somewhere between 12 and 1500 watts of usable plasma that's going to take over some of the devices in your house. So you'll be dropping it a kilowatt and a half an hour, somewhere in there. Ideally, I mean, it's possible you can even get up to 8 in some situations. Every single installation is different, so you can't really predict what you're going to get out of it. But we do, the range 4 to 6 times. Yeah, that's pretty close.
Okay, well, I can put one of my maggravs on the end of that one circuit where my computer is, and plug my computer into that.
Yeah. And once you've got a bunch of your house between the maggrav and the breaker panel, that reflected energy is going to supply some of the energy to drive those devices. So they shouldn't use as much matter state electricity.
Thank you, John.
Lee,
Thanks, John.
did you mention? Did you notice any other effects other than electrical bill kind of effects from having these installations in your house? You've got a lot of reactors going on there.
Anything that's plugged into the maggravs or on that maggrav circuits, they run just fine. There's no problem with the loads running.
I meant more like, did you notice any changes in yourself or in those that come into your place or in the atmosphere, or is your dog suddenly got more pacified or more angry or something like that? Any kind of oddness?
I mean, the things have been running here for 5 months now. I sort of feel calm and relaxed when I'm in the house. No question about that. But
yeah.
But they've been running so long now that I can't. It's sort of natural. Whatever's happening right now, I think. But
right. Okay. Yeah. It's hard to tell if there's any gradual changes, anyways, because we don't notice.
Yeah, I don't see any glowing fields around anything or shimmering or anything like that around any of these units I've got going. So
Okay.
Well, another thing that Vivek and I have noticed is location matters. Where your house is on the surface of the earth matters, particularly with the GANs production. We've noticed lots of people. Some people have really hard time making GANs. They have to use really high salt content. Some people, if they use that high salt content, they don't get anything. And it seems to be very location specific.
and it
So
seems to change over time.
I, I would
Yes,
I
that
would
seems
assume
to be
that's
true.
correct as well. We haven't got enough data yet to be able to see that trend clearly, but we do know the location does matter. I mean, where you are on the planet will change the output that you're going to get from these devices.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Selma had his hand up there, so I wonder if you had a comment about this, or what did you want to say, Selma? Or did you want to say? Can I unmute you? I'll unmute you, see if you have something there. Hello?
Hello, Ray.
Hi, hi.
Yeah, I've been following Keshe for about 2 years plus. Yeah, same like you, same like you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I found, I found whatever his devices that I did myself, it works. If you follow the what he says and all that, it works. From the pen pad, pen pen, all of it works. The ping pong ball
Mm-hmm.
Reactor. I use that and it cured me of my back pain, and I can move around well now, very well.
You mean
And
the rotating ping pong ball you used?
yes, from you. It was from you.
And that cured your back pain. Oh, that's good.
It worked very well. And,
Huh.
and now, and now, the reduction, I got no problem. I did it in Singapore, and I did it in Indonesia. I get reaction now in 2 weeks, and all I did it by hand, And if it come out from Keshe, it should works.
Well, that's good testimonial. Thank you.
Yes. When they say they don't get reduction and all that, I'm a bit I don't know. I don't understand why. But
Well, in some.
what I did to just to assist them, what I did is that the macro that I did for reduction and all that, it is never off. It's been on for since December 2015. It is not off at any time. Because if you were to off and on it like a restart, and it takes longer time than normal.
Mean worse than Windows 10? I'm just
Hello?
kidding. Just
Be
kidding.
nice, Rick.
It's just.
Oh,
Brother,
Well, it's funny.
I have a
It's funny
question for
this
you.
concept of restarting. That is an interesting concept. Go ahead. Sorry.
Brother Syed, I have a question for you. Um, in your stacker unit, the distance between each coil stacker, is it the diameter of the coil or the radius of the coil?
no. I just follow what I have.
Okay,
Even
yours is
if
what is the distance between each stacker?
between each stacker, it's about 2.5 inches.
2.5 inches. Is that the diameter of the inner coil?
No. I don't do that. When I did all this in December, that was not in the schematic, or that was not advised. So I did what measurement I need to do to fit into my stacker. You
Okay,
understand?
because John and I were actually thinking of that, whether it is whether that distance, because we have seen different configurations of the stacker, where some configuration is you have the coil literally sitting on a paper on a plastic plate, and another coil is sitting right on top, and there's hardly any distance. And we have other configurations where it's set, each stacker is set at the diameter of the inner coil. So that's why we were wondering, which is the advisable configuration.
My stacker is about the same as yours when you first started, but mine is smaller. The where you have the plastic. Remember, baby?
Yeah, I need to actually physically see your stacker unit, because the thing is, even with the second attempt that I made, I've not been successful. So I need to study your stacker unit and find out exactly how you made it, and try to replicate it from there. So at least I can provide some results from there.
Yeah. So my stacker in Singapore and in Indonesia, right? It both I get reduction. In Indonesia, I get about 30.
Right, and in Singapore, you're getting about 80%.
That was one time, but now I'm not here, so I did not monitor. Someone
Right.
might off it and all that. So it's up and down now in Singapore.
Okay.
But still, I get reduction.
Right. I think one day, one of these days, I should come over to your place and take a look at the stacker, so at least I have a better understanding of
But
you made it.
I would like to invite you to Indonesia, though.
when I can travel, definitely.
You see the diagram now.
Yep.
One of the mistake that they did, I don't know, all of you or some of us do it. You must fit the double coil back to back. You understand what I'm saying?
No, please explain that.
Back to back. If you were to start your coil with the drill, okay? You start the coil with the drill. So when your inner coil, the one that is starting with the drill, must be back to back. You cannot take the other end of the coil.
That means the coil of wire that you're using has to be in the same direction, basically. It means you
Yes.
should use from the other side.
So when you start near the drill, the coil that goes into the drill, the inner coil, must be back to back. You must remember that. If other than that, you will get it weak. A lot of my friends also found out that if they don't do it back to back, they don't get the reduction. You understand? The one that is closest to the drill must meet the bigger coil that you started from the drill. It must be back to back. Back to back, that means it must be coming from the same position that you use your drill.
Still not very clear on that. Do you mean wind the inner coil first and then wind the outer coil of the inner ring?
So when you start your bigger coil, okay, the outer coil, you start where you start from the drill, correct? And the other end is furthest from the drill, correct?
Yes.
So that must be back to back. The one that's closest to the drill, the smaller, the inner coil, must meet the one that is the nearest to the drill. Can you understand that? The closest to the drill must be the closest to the drill between the outer coil and the inner coil.
So
I think what he's trying to say
they're
is
like
the
one wire, you mean?
The starts of the coils need to be congruent within the inner and outer rings. I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah. So when the outer coil and the inner coil, you must let them meet where they start at the drill. So the end must meet the end, and when the nearest coil, the nearest of the coil to the drill must meet. That's what Mr. Keshe said, back to back.
So they're like one continuous piece of wire almost, where they attach?
Yes, correct. Because if you were to put the other end, the furthest end of the drill and the nearest end of the drill, it doesn't work. I don't know, but it seems that all my friends are now changing it back to back. Nearest to the nearest, furthest to the furthest.
Okay, so when you wind your coils, mark your start and your end of each coil and make sure they stay the same when you assemble it.
Usually the nearest to the drill is the one that you attach to the drill. It will have a lot of what you call it, it's not as smooth, when you put into your drill and you tighten it, it won't be as smooth as the other end, at the furthest end. Can you understand that?
Yeah, it has something to do with the directionality of the wire itself when it's being produced, correct?
Correct. A lot of my friends, when they did reduction and they found out they did that, they don't get any reduction.
Interesting.
Baby, you understand that?
Yeah, I understand. Basically where you end your first coil should be the start of the second coil within the same ring itself. So
No.
outer will connect to outer, inner will
No.
connect to inner.
Yeah, but it's back to back. It must be the nearest to the drill, meet the outer coil nearest to the drill.
Yep, correct.
So if you were to say the beginning and the other one, you made it with the end of the drill, it won't work. I don't know. I don't understand though.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. That actually goes along with the flow of the material within the copper coil, the copper wire itself during production. So the
It will be
wire itself has a directionality.
Yeah, if at any one time you don't do it back to back, that means the end of the coil, either the outer or the inner, will meet the other end. It's as you drill it. Give it a try. I think a lot of people are having problem because of this.
Okay, I will do that for the next iteration of the coils that I make. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me know. Rick.
Hello?
Rick.
Yes?
Yeah, Rick. I'm in Indonesia. I be in Indonesia most of the time. The star formation where you do the three stacker and one on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one works very well in Indonesia. A lot of old people, a lot of people with cancer, they come over and they try the I call it a therapy, okay. And after the first night, they say I haven't slept for so long. All the pain in my body is gone.
Great.
You know,
Great news.
right?
Excellent.
Yeah, no pain, and the best thing is that I have not slept for so long. A wonderful sleep. Yeah, last night, like they call back, they say, last night I had so a wonderful sleep. Like they enjoy this that moment, when everybody is sleeping and they can't sleep.
Right? Yep.
Yeah,
Well, it's,
they are very grateful, and all this come from Mr. Keshe. Yeah.
that's excellent. Eh? To hear that people get out of pain alone is just that factor alone is quite amazing. And we hear so many stories of people that are becoming
Yeah,
at
it's
least
it's one
alleviated,
it's
if not
wonderful to
pain-free.
see them smile. They
Mm-hmm.
are very happy. Like
Mm-hmm.
any pain that you can take from their body or what they feel, they are so jubilant. They are so happy. I am setting up my medical unit. I have not completed it yet. I will show you photograph soon. It's
Sorry,
about 8
you'll
foot
show
tall.
us. You'll show us. Pardon me, you broke up there a bit. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I done the medical or health unit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I've not completed it yet. It is 8 foot tall.
Oh yeah. Will it be
Yeah,
similar to one of these units? I'll make put the picture on
yeah,
here.
yeah. Yes, correct. So mine is all covered with acrylic. So there's 8 stacker on top and 9 stacker below for the legs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this I'll be doing with coils, and later on I will be using the ping pong ball. I mean the cash mentioned in the 111 workshop. I'll be using crystal or lead glass after this.
For
I'll be building another one. That is with crystal. What I'm doing now is all coils, and it's all covered with acrylic. You cannot see the coil.
covered with what again?
Acrylic.
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 Okay. So you can't see the coils, and but the new ones you're gonna make are gonna be out of crystal with no coils.
Yeah, crystal and the what you call it, the double layering. I'll be doing like double layering.
Double ring with out of crystal.
Yeah, correct. That's in 111 where he says you can even do this in your health unit. So I thought I might as well go ahead with it.
Well, that's interesting. How do you, how do you build a ring out of crystal? What do you mean by that?
No, I'm gonna source for it. I'm gonna go all out and look out for it. Even if I
Right.
have to use the
This is one thing
one
that I've run into recently, which is
you advise, the what you call it, you have to use the one that you use for what you make crystal. Remember it? You use your own crystal.
own crystal.
You make your own crystal with
Yes,
I
yes, out
forgot.
of used borax for crystal, for
Correct.
example.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
I might
show this.
I might be using that.
Oh yeah, well that could very well work, as well as there's other like bismuth is an interesting crystal as well. This really glows
Yeah,
in the light here.
that,
This is something I picked up
that's
today
another good.
as a. I'm thinking of as a base that is a tube, which in a way is a crystal tube. It's glass, and it's a fluorescent tube, but I'm not even sure if this one works. It's a bit on the loose side where the connection is there.
Rick, you still have your screen share running.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see myself on live stream and everything's working good there, but not here. Okay, let's redo that a little differently.
Uh, that
Still on live
Rick,
stream. See,
that is a very good tip for me.
so this is glass. It's a glass hoop, and you can get these in actually in smaller sizes as well. So you could have different sizes. And I don't really care if it works or not. I don't suspect this one does, but it may light up okay under high voltage. Or my hope is to wrap coils around it, nano-coated copper coils, as well as other types of metals, and use this as a basic core ring, as a plasma ring in the center of a Magrav multi-coil unit, basically.
Do you
So,
expect the noble gas and the phosphor coating to attribute to some of that?
well, you never know what could happen in the middle of a multi-core coil. It's now nano-coated with different things, and especially in certain environments, maybe in the with the correct orientation and the correct other environment in the core here, it might at least it'd be an indicator if there were rays being given off. Like I was going to test this around my plasma globe, if it would light around the plasma globe. Quite sure it would, and I know it would around the Tesla coil or other high voltage, high frequency type power. But maybe it would light also if there was X-rays, gamma rays, other types of rays, or alternating maggrav fields. It could be basically a field indicator. And if it lights up, then that would be like the interaction between the core maggrav fields in the center and the gases inside here, which are already on the edge of ionizing from their from just what they are. I don't know. Maybe. Anybody else have any ideas like that?
It's an interesting source of a round glass tube for sure.
Yeah, well, it just kind of reminds me of the old. Where is it here? I mean, you look at the coils. They are essentially in the center of the coil. Will be where the greatest plasma field would be, you would think, although maybe it's just carried along the wires of the coil itself, or in between one coil and the other. But you would think in the core of the coils, that would be where all the action is, or inaction, voidness, some sort of if you're going to be a principal plasma, it would probably be in the center of the coils, and perhaps it would be able to rotate or pulsate back and forth. And this light is a very similar configuration, where it's basically a circle but with a break in part of it. So, and we're moving more now toward this idea of the plasma water, or Gans water, and the idea of plasma vapor. And I'm thinking, well, why not plasma gas, which is basically, in a fluorescent or other types of tubes. They're essentially, it's ionized gases are what get played with there. So if they're already partly there and evacuated and the right kinds of gases ready to go, then why not take advantage of it, you might say. So just an idea. We'll see what pans out, if anything.
Yeah, for anybody that's looking for getting tubes like that made, talk to the neon sign guys. They'll be able to spin those up really fast, and they're pretty accurate with what they're doing.
Yeah, that's an idea. You could have a custom configuration of different gases even that they could use for different colors and so on.
Yeah.
And maybe each one would be an indication of certain wavelengths that were given off.
That'd be something interesting to test.
You could have a multi wavelength tube detector thing that would have a bunch of different tubes sticking out that would all be different frequencies that would pick up.
Well, you kind of did that sort of an experiment several years ago when you were playing with your vacuum pump, and you had the plasma moving down the hose into your vacuum pump.
Well, that's right. Once you create a vacuum, there's all kinds of miraculous, well, to me, especially at the time, miraculous things that occur. Like, who I never would have suspected at the time that a vacuum tube would start having the plasma inside the chamber start traveling down the vacuum tube and toward the pump and so on. Mr. Keshe had talked about that, but I'd never thought that I would actually see it in my own apparatus, and sure enough, there it was, and it kind of scared the heck out of me when I first saw that, because I wasn't sure. I didn't think it was a good thing to have plasma going down into your vacuum pump. What could happen? So, but now I realize it's not that. It's not the end of the world. It might be the end of the seals in your vacuum pump if you do it all the time. But
Do you recall how much vacuum we were pulling when that was happening?
it didn't require complete full vacuum. In fact, if you have a full complete vacuum, then the effect starts to become less because you don't have any particles left to make the effect. I found it was beyond the vacuuming of water vapor and before total vacuum, or not total vacuum, but what they call a high vacuum. I used to have my chart here. I'm trying to remember. I think it was in the range of between probably 100 and 500 micron, as I recall. Something like that.
Yeah, I'd have to do the conversion. My vacuum gauge is in inches.
Okay,
30
well,
inches is 1 atmosphere. So I would think probably that's around like 27, 28 inches of vacuum.
yeah, probably even a bit more. It's like most
Okay.
pumps will go down to maybe 20 to 25 micron or something like that. Just a regular vacuum pump, not a high vacuum pump, but just like for a good vacuum pump for refrigeration, for example.
Okay.
Might go down to that much. So just more or less at the limits of a pump like that, given certain inefficiencies and so on. Then you can spark up a power supply from a plasma ball and create some really neat effects. In fact, the insignia I used to have for the plasma reactor group, I guess it's only in the Skype group, a picture of a purplish, sort of bluish series of discs came from that vacuum chamber, that kind of condition.
That opens up a whole new way of thinking about this.
Well, the early days of the vacuum chamber. I wonder if I can bring up that picture. Let me see if I can. How would I do that? Let me just see here. The early days of the vacuum chamber times when Keshe it was all about how much vacuum we can get and how do we get the most efficient way of doing it and so on and so forth. It was a totally different understanding of how to get there.
Well, what just crossed my mind was what would happen if you used the vacuum to boil off the Gans water, and that would infuse the gases, whatever's gas is left in your glass, with that plasma water.
Well, exactly. This is something that I've considered, and I've actually got the apparatus that can do that. That can both rotate and vacuum at the same time. And I think this is what needs to be done. The question I have, and I was running this through my mind earlier today, is do you are we throwing out the baby with the bathwater, as the saying goes? In other words, when you vacuum out the material inside that chamber and it's bubbling away and it's gradually going down to nothing inside the chamber or whatever residue is left, is that vapor the most important part? That'll be the finest first to vaporize, first to, it's like the finest liquors. It's the finest vibration that's the most easily vaporized, or it's going to be pulled off first, and that'll just go through the pump and off into the atmosphere, unless we trap it in a trap of some sort. Mr. Keshe has talked about trapping these plasma vapors and plasma fields inside of a trap of some sort, or container, a special container, I think he called it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, a couple of things come to mind. People have been talking when Mr. Keshe brought up the plasma vapor. Immediately, people are thinking, well, let's just boil the water and we'll collect the steam and use that. But if you put that under a normal atmosphere inside a container, it's just going to condense on the inside of the container. If you pulled that down into, like even 10 or 15 inches of mercury, that vapor is going to stay in vapor state, and it won't condense on the inside of your tubes. Also, going back to the original teachings, where he's saying that what we want to do is open these atoms up, puff them like popcorn, and make them really, really big. If we have a limited supply within the atmosphere of the tube, and it's in a partial, at least a partial vacuum state, those atoms are going to open right up, and they're going to be really easy to manipulate.
that's right, exactly, and that's what I'm thinking. And we might even want to actually cool the apparatus while rotating and vacuuming at the same time, instead of heating. Heating was natural to make it boil easier, but maybe the idea is to take it down colder and actually pull off other materials other than what would boil off easily, and so on. So,
Well, will ice sublimate in a vacuum like dry ice does?
essentially, yeah, because it's got a vacuum, or what do you call it, a vapor pressure as well. And it's
Okay.
still vapor pressure, and um, well, this is the thing too. If we excuse me, let's go to let's try a whiteboard for a minute here, and just play around with a couple of ideas. Okay, there's a whiteboard, and get
It's
this.
not showing up here.
No, okay. Well, it's let's see if I have to put it over here, maybe. Can you see it there now?
Nope.
No whiteboard.
And the mouse that we're seeing is the little black mouse is sitting frozen. So
Okay, let me try again. Whiteboard, share screen.
there we go.
Drag it over there and resume share. Does that
Certainly
work?
white.
Is it there now? It's white? It's there?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Let me zero in on the live stream a bit here. There we go. Okay, it's white. Now, just have to find the control so I can actually... oops, I have to get rid of this, I think. It's giving me... I'm not giving my... There it is. Oh, okay. Now I've got control. Okay, good. Now, okay, so let's look at the idea of, let's say we had something that was similar to a lab flask or some sort of round container that was rotating, and as it rotates with this say it had different kinds of Gans material in it, and as we've seen before, the Gans will tend to squish out along the sides of the container, and such that different colored Ganses could form rings in there. That one didn't work out too good. And so we would see those rings as different colors, bands inside this rotating gizmo here. Okay, well, we've seen that, a couple of years ago, basically. It's not that big a deal, but what if this was just all clear water, Gans water, or plasma water, and maybe from 3 different Ganses, will it layer out in this rotation? Is one question that comes to mind. Will we
if
have...
it's all just water, it'll layer out, but not in the physical, because the water is going to be the same density all through.
Is it the same density? That's the question. And is there actually microparticles, or is it just the water itself is imprinted with the information of the Ganses? Or, like, for example, in homeopathy, they always thought with all these dilutions that they do, multiple shakings and dilutions of the original, such that there should be theoretically no more atoms left of the original substance. But now through micro techniques, they've discovered that there's actually nanoparticles created through that process, and there still are nanoparticles at the end of the shakings and so on and so forth, all the dilutions. So I'm wondering, in terms of our Gans water, plasma water, number one, is there still some sort of, well, call them nanomaterials, maybe it's nanocrystals, like a different crystalline, invisible structure that's not a particulate that's visible the way we see it. I mean, theoretically, a nanoparticle is too small to see to start with. So if it's in water and it's a nanoparticle, we shouldn't be able to see it. It's only clumps of nanoparticles that start to become visible through clumping and amalgamation of the conglomerates and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
if you have particulate, even nanoparticulate within the system that is of different densities, that's going to stratify, certainly.
Right. So let's assume that we don't, and that it's all water, Gans water. Say 3 different kinds of Gans water. Will spinning it make any difference, or will it just be still all homogenized 3 kinds of Gans water all mixed up in pressure or what do you call it? Gravity or centrifugal force doesn't make any difference to it. Is that...
Well, what Mr. Keshe was talking about, this is spaced over 2 or 3 dozen of the workshops. When you spin those balls, there's a void that's created in the center, which is essentially in a vacuum state. But that is the strongest plasma source within that spinning system. It's also mentioned that the GANs, or the plasma, or I just call it GANs, is going to organize itself from the strongest to the weakest, because that's the way it wants to flow. So I would be thinking that if you have a multiple GAN, say a lead, a CO2, and a CH3 within your system, when you spin it, the lead GANs is going to migrate towards that stronger field than the CO2, than the CH3 on the outside. Excuse me. And I think that's the trick with the liquid GANs.
Could you say that again, John? Sorry, could you say that last thing you said again? The lead, which how would the layering go, and how would that energy flow go again?
I would think just intuitively, when you spin the system and you create that void with the very high plasma potential right in the center of your spinning system, the GANs energies, the plasma water, the what do I call it? The energies that you put into the water of the three different types of Ganses would naturally organize from the strongest to the weakest on the outside. It would be the opposite of what we're getting when we're spinning a matter state system.
Oh, interesting idea. This brings me to the next concept that I wanted to bring up here, which is, what about this central voidness, you might say, as this water, call it plasma water combination, is spinning, and perhaps we do have a gradient of fields there. Let's assume that's what's happening. And as you say, in the very center, that's where the highest principal fields should be. And now this comes up to an interesting concept here, that what if, while this is spinning, we had this color, a vacuum tube going into here, and out to a vacuum source, or to let's say to some sort of container that has a vacuum source attached to it, so it catches whatever comes out of there. And if this is spinning, I'm posing this theoretical concept that I'd like to just sort of throw out there and see what people think. If this entity is spinning on its axis, and it's got the Gans water in it, and it's got this bubble which forms in the middle, and you're vacuuming out from that bubble, or perhaps even just vacuuming from the top part of the Gans water itself, which will still create a bubble inside, or a vacuum position, which will, at the same time, as that vacuum forms, or this vacuum is being pulled out, this Gans water, whatever kind of water, will be attempting to vaporize and essentially boil. It'll be boiling at its interface of the liquid and vapor phase. There will be if we were to take this area here and blow it up into something big here, we would, at the interface of, let's make that the blue color here. Say that's the wall of what we see of this bubble, and this is void here. I would call it void, or it's just the center, and this is the what do you call it, the water, or yeah, we'll call it water. Plasma water is, I guess, the new word for it. Gans water. Liquid is just what I wanted to say. It's a liquid, and there will be an interface here, some sort of boundary where vapor. This will be vapor in here. Okay, that. So this is what I'd like to sort of conceive here. I wish I could write better with the mouse, but it's... Okay, let's assume that this part here is vapor. So you got your water, and it's under force. There's a lot of centrifugal force. Could be 100 G's force, say, pushing on that water, and anything up to even 1,000 G's fairly easily, depending on the RPM, pushing toward the outside wall of this rotating container. At the same time, we have the vapor, what they call the vapor pressure, the pressure that the molecules are jumping off the surface of the water and jumping off into the void here, you might say, toward the center. But they can't really, because they're being pushed back into the water from the rotational forces, the centrifugal force. So, in essence, those material parts are still, like, for example, this vapor layer would be probably a layer or at least a gradient here. Compared, it'd be a steep gradient compared to normal in a normal atmosphere, where it would, you know, you could see the vapor maybe on of a puddle evaporating on a road or something like that. It'll tend to be closer. You know, it'll have a certain area that it'll vaporize in, or boiling water coming out of a boiling pan. You'll see the vapor in a certain area. So I'm wondering what will be the effect here. Well, we're essentially trying to vacuum out the void, the voidness in the middle. At the same time, this vapor is bubbling out. But at the same time, due to, especially if the RPMs were higher than normal, it wouldn't allow that vaporization to reach the center. It would be still a void in the center rather than vapor. Thank you for the accent echoing on that last word that I was about to say. But I'm not sure where that even came from.
Can I say something?
That was Muriel.
Yes, definitely someone should say something other than me. So I wanted to quit. Is that you, Mario?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I have done some experiment where I found that the motion of the Gans is completely independent to the motion of the plasma. Gans could be going in one direction, the plasma is flowing in another direction. If you put three Gans waters, you have the matter of the water. The water can't be compressed. Water can't be compressed, so it acts almost like it's in a vacuum, whether it's in a vacuum or not. So you have the plasma water, but it's a composite to us. It might have different molecular weights and it might settle whatever it does, but the plasma will layer itself according to the mass and its field strength. And that you'll have, if you have three gases, you'll have three layers of plasma. If you rotate those balls, the ball, what's going to happen is those three layers or more layers you have, if they interact and you have field lines crossing, then you'll get a central core. And it's a plasma central core, and it's a conduit. It's a portal. And it's a Gans. It's not Gans. Whatever the Gans is doing is irrelevant. It's opening up the central core is the whole goal. Mr. Keshe said that in the last workshop. Take two of these reactors, and he drew a line. He said, yeah, relevant. It's just a way to open the central core. Once you've opened the central core, you've got this conduit of the entire spectrum of the fields, everything. The layers will be the difference of the field strengths of the plasma you put in there. And you can control the speed of the rotation of the plasma by changing the gradients, changing the amounts of mass, putting in different kinds of whatever. But I think that's the point of the lead. The lead sinks us to the ground. Like my pyramids here, my pyramid, I have three pyramids that are creating a crystal. They focus the fields into the central core. That's what Mr. Keshe is always saying. You always look at the matter. I always look at in between. You know, he's saying that all the time. That's the point, is having the central core open, not the matter. And I think the vapor, I don't know what Mr. Keshe has in mind about that, but to me, no matter what you do, if you steam it, if you mix it with anything, you end up with matter. If you want to have no matter, then you put the liquid Gans, your liquid plasma, on the outside of the containers in such a way that the gradient pulls them into the glass. And then and if you have the right gradients and the right mixtures of amounts in different areas, then they will pull each other into your crystal ball and create a plasma interaction. And so you don't have any matter in the actual reactor. See, I mean, I think
So,
that might be.
just to be clear, you're saying to have a hollow crystal ball in the center and then have the Gans water around the crystal ball. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what Mr. Keshe showed. He said you don't need to rotate you have your hollow core, your tubes. You're going to make them hollow. You're going to put one like a gravitational, one the opposite, 90 degrees, and then a sphere around it. So you have your 3 chambers. So, but instead of filling them with the water, you have the tubes coming out where he had those containment chambers. He said, now you put your Ganses or your plasma waters on the outside of that, and you fill the chambers with just plasma. With just a plasma. There's no matter in the reactors at all. See, I don't know. I mean, there might be some other thing with the vapor, but it seems to me that's what he was saying.
Yeah, that's. Thank you for that, Mario. That's pretty much describes what I would like to say too. But the idea here with this reactor is that it would achieve it theoretically in the very center. Would be that just plasma area. That would be, the end result of having no more vapor, no more matter material because of the rotational effect. All matter gets thrown to the side, essentially. So it would do the same effect as having that rotating bulb in the middle, perhaps. But I like the idea of what you're saying at the same time. It keeps a definite wall separation between the matter level and whatever's inside of the bulb. In fact, I considered, what about having a hydrogen core? They make hydrogen light bulbs, actually, that are 100% or more or less 100% hydrogen inside the bulb. And because it's pure hydrogen, it won't blow up or anything. It's made to light up under voltage, and so you wouldn't have to light it up necessarily. Maybe that would be a way to initiate a reaction, but it would be the focus of the other fields interacting with the very center core. So I'm wondering if what would be the best core? Nothing, a voidness, or is it better to have some gases of some sort to interact, especially hydrogen, which is monoatomic hydrogen has come up as a candidate in the past. Go ahead, sorry, Mario.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I think opening up the central core strictly as a plasma structure is what Mr. Keshe said. We successfully achieved plasma back in Iran with gases. Mm-hmm. You guys are doing it. I think Vince is the first person that had a star formation where he had a central core with ping pong balls or whatever. There's a lot of ways of getting that. Mr. Keshe, said using the Ganses, you don't need to use the nuclear material. So how can you get a central core? That was another way of doing it. Now we're at the point, the ping pong balls and the star formation, that's a way of doing it. Now the glass, the crystal, is a way of doing it without having any matter at all except what you load on the outside. But it's all the same. It's all the same. It's to get a central core opening, because that's the source of your energy. That's the portal for communication. That's the portal for transportation. That's where the whole spectrum of the universe is coming up and in and out of. So however you do it, you get a central core, you know? But the
Agreed.
idea is to get rid of as much of the matter as possible, because you have the limited matter always.
Well, that was always been the problem. That's right, exactly. In the older reactors, the vacuum systems is to vacuum it out until you get rid of all the different heavy things inside, especially water vapor. That was a big no-no, and so on, to make sure it's super clean for just the gases that you want to introduce to your reactor. Because, like you're saying before, when you vacuum, everything opens up. The atoms open up. Their structure becomes, the fields interact in a much greater distance. So it becomes a whole different ball game, and all of a sudden, a few atoms that didn't really interfere with other chemical or other reactions suddenly do interfere big time in this vacuum condition that you want to try to get certain atoms spinning up, maybe some hydrogen or whatever, to all get together and dance together. But these big boy water vapor atoms are interfering and not allowing the dance to continue, so that kind of thing can go on. So I'm wondering if in this interface between the elements of water here and this voidness in the middle, whether it can be done, or do we have to continue vacuuming until all of the water, or what we call water, the Gans water, the plasma water, is turned into a vapor at least, and even pull the vapor out to leave only the plasma vapor, or only the plasma gas, or what we're trying to do is, as Mario was just mentioning, what we want is just the plasma fields, really. So that's the ultimate, that, as Keshe has been telling us, we're trying to move from the plasma water to plasma vapor to plasma gas and plasma fields, essentially.
It seems that if you have vapor still matter. I mean,
Yeah.
steam, you know, the only way you're going to get, I don't know, maybe Mr. Keshe has got, you know, something else in mind with the what he means by the vapor. But see,
well, he's talking about plasma vapor, right? Which is like the difference between water and plasma water is water and Gans water. So it'd be like Gans vapor.
Yeah, I think it's the fields. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I mean,
Well, the next step beyond the vapor would be the fields, yes. Or you could say gas, but it's the fields. The fields is the ultimate step to get to, yes.
Can pass through the crystal like the food cups. I mean, the same thing. You're passing these fields through. It's just using the fields. If you can get the fields into the reactor and have them, I don't know, maybe that doesn't work like that. I don't know. It might need some matter still in there, but it seems to me that all of this is all just us having to have matter level limitations for us to be able to open a central core. At the end of the day, you and I are humans. We have a central core right at the center of our thalamus. At the end of the day, we already have central core. You know, if 4 people knew how to do it, we don't need anything. You know, we already have that. It's us getting control of our knowledge of what it is that we're doing here. I found this with the reactor. I can only control what I understand. And I was saying, like, you know, I know how to navigate using the control of the layers. But the thing is, I realize I can't tell it to control its layers until I know how to control my layers. You know what I mean? And now I find that, well, I'm looking at the reactor, I'm thinking, well, I've got a liter of Gans water in there. I weigh 70 kilos. If I know how to tell it what to do, what do I need it for? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. But as we're humans, we often need a crutch to help us get to the next step or learn the next step. So, to me, this is like it's sort of like Aladdin's lamp. If you rub it just right and have the right incantation, then bingo, the genie comes out, your wishes are granted, and so on. And you could still have those same wishes granted without the genie and by rubbing your nose or something instead of the genie's lamp, perhaps. But like I say, because we're human, it's harder for us to go direct from the source, I think, and do everything without our sort of crutches of Gans and material elements that we work with, and nanomaterials, and so on and so forth, which are sort of one step or two steps removed from the actual direct interaction with the fields in a way. So depending on what dimension we tend to operate out of, some people like to work with fields directly, and to them, maybe even talking about any of this materiality stuff of rotating globes or using even the Gans water and so on is ridiculous. Why would you even why would you use this holy water Gans stuff when you can do it all with directly from your feeling centrum or brain or psychic world or hands or other types of healing?
I have an answer for that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how. I
Right.
need the Gans to help me teach me. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, this is true. This is what I'm using, is this analogy of the rotating globe, because I've rotated the globe. I've had that bubble in the middle that's mysterious, and I wonder what's that like to rotate at those speeds. And if you were this molecule sitting, say you were a little I'll make it green for some reason, water molecule here on the surface, and you're trying to get to this void because it's your nature to become a vapor and to vaporize, and you want to go toward this center, but you can't, because there's this incredible force pushing you backward back into this water mode. And so to me that creates a real tension. This is a gradient, an interface here where you, as a water molecule, you would have to graduate into not only the vapor phase, but you'd have to be, truly dedicated to be a plasma vapor to get into that center, because you have to leave all the materiality, all the physicality behind, and just take your essence with you to be at the center. Because no thing exists in that voidness at the center, which is actually our true nature. You think about it. So to get to our true nature is not an additive process. Thank you for that effect. I don't know where that comes from yet, but it's great. It's not an additive process. Jeez, I can't get it voluntarily. It's not an additive process. It's a subtractive process.
Yeah, it's just when Mario opens his mic.
Okay, I can't even find my...
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, there it is. Yes, hi.
Hello, it's Alper from California. I'm trying to connect with my mobile phone.
Okay, go ahead.
So you can hear me. Okay, I'm just gonna try to put my camera on.
Okay, let me stop the sharing. If you want to show something on the camera then?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we see darkened image.
Dark face, I know. I'm so terribly sorry. I'm gonna switch it. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
So that is the today's hunt. I've been to a thrift store and I found this computer fan and two more really high speed fans, and I just adjusted them and I tried to put them into some kind of an order. And the first thing I've done, this 12 volts computer fan, and I love it. It's just so beautiful. It's the first time I've been dreaming to do this, and honestly,
How
the
did you
first time
mount it?
saw
Did
it, saw
you?
it from your videos years ago. Very high speed one attached to a piece of wood, and it made a lot of sound. It's just like it was incredible, and I loved it, and so I made it today.
It's quite quiet, it seems, and well balanced. How did you attach it? Is that the hot glue technique, and is that a bottle cap, or how did you attach it to the fan?
Well, I used the sellotape inner plastic, sort of what you call it, and the hard bit where it holds the tape.
Okay,
You know, yeah. So I just put that. Well, super glued it, and
okay.
I super glued the ball where
Hmm.
it came out of the first mixed Gans attempt. If you see what I mean, like
And
You actually have GANs in there, not just water?
no water, it's all Gans.
Okay.
And oh no, it's no effect. I mean, what effect? What I could show is the field. As soon as I, yeah, what I got it. It's been an hour. It wasn't like this at all, and it's just increasing. This beautiful. I love it. It's like so handy, and where I can hold it and just like attach it to a 12 volts adapter, and where I can do anything with it. It's just
hmm
happiness. What I feel, I don't know. Excitement.
That's right. Every new
Honestly,
reactor is like a newborn baby, basically, and
I
there's a lot
can't
of.
express it. Thank you so much for telling it. Honestly, it's like that. Very serious subjects you're talking about. Um, this is how I feel it, and I've salvaged from the thrift store um, two more very high speed motors where you can attach it to electricity. And let me just go there. That's why I've put it on my mobile phone, because this is the phone where that the crazy blue thing is disappears. And so anyway,
Quite the lab.
well, it was a music studio. It's not anymore. Can't make any music. There's no sound. It's just unbelievably. Oh, I can't get it right. Okay, so. Oh yeah.
Okay, we see something there.
Oh, okay. So this is nothing. This is just
Coconut.
yes.
Well, it's not nothing. A coconut is actually virtually a perfect Gans sphere when you think about it. But go ahead.
It is, and I've done a couple of experiments with that. That well, I just put it on my unit and increased the field severely. And these are the motors where I. Oh my goodness!
Wow, they're noisy
Very
and
noisy.
quite
And
powerful. Yeah.
I've got them from a thrift store. these were originally for air pumping. When I realized, if you remember it when you were a child, we've had this pipe where it attached a ping pong ball where we blow out and it floated. Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember that?
Right.
So it gave me the idea where I could sort of put a um, I can't get the light right. So I'm so sorry.
I
Just
can
one
see
second.
it there.
Okay, thank you. Around this, put like a tube, and where it is quite heavy, where it's filled in the ping pong balls, so it could, with this pressure, I thought it could float. Why I want to float? Because I've gotten stuck with the idea where I need to change the balls wherever I want to, because we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be able. And so I thought that that should be a good idea, where as if it's floating, you just pick it, put it, and leave another one, and then just like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've
That
done
was the
that.
idea where
You can do
I've got
that.
from.
Sorry,
Yes,
I was going to
please
suggest that
go ahead.
you can do that with a high pressure air hose and a ping pong ball. You can actually suspend the ping pong ball in the air and rotate it at the same time with the um, high pressure air coming out, and it's quite amazing. You can turn the air pressure hose up to a 45-degree angle, and the ball will still remain completely suspended in the air and rotating at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So that same principle can be made into a partial vacuum chamber situation as well, with the air pressure coming from the regular air pressure in the room through a small tube into your vacuum chamber, and actually suspend a ping pong ball. But with the Gans, that's a bit more of a challenge. That's pretty heavy for air pressure. But anyway, go
I know.
ahead.
I realize it's out of any calculations. It's just a feeling where I've purchased those air pumps. I realized that it's quite. That just gave me the feeling where I play with those toys with the pipes, where I could just float them, and I thought it was so powerful, but I have no idea at the moment. So yeah, it's just an idea.
Now we have to
Where
create a plasma vortex, perhaps, instead of an air vortex, in order to do that suspension.
Well, at one time I've experienced this. Um, I don't know what you think about that, but it was during the teaching with Mr. Keshe's knowledge seekers, and I can't remember which number. Just listening, and I was so excited. I took my iPad next to the unit, and I sat next to the unit with my device and listening to it, to the teaching, and everything becomes silence in terms of um, crumbling into a sort of fade out. Internet has gone, and just one time that was the experience where I have felt everything was silence near the unit, and it gives you lots of ideas. I don't want to continue, but it's just fantastic. It's just like unbelievable. That's just how I feel it. And when that happens, I don't think that it was an accident, or it was just a luck or anything related to that. I start thinking about how how come it's just impossible. I put radios, AM, FM radios, which I have tried to silence them. Um, Quite difficult. I couldn't really do it since then. But what I have realized was I am even skeptical in that idea, which I complete the unit. So whatever it needs, the in terms of, we are talking about fields at the moment, whatever the fields it needs, in terms of your elevation of your soul, probably you feel maybe so happy or so sad. Maybe you're so sad, but you can't really describe it, but you can be so happy in the future. Those feelings comes and goes. That's just how I felt it. I completed it when I was in that elevation of the feeling. I felt like I have completed this circle, and it crumbled into a fade out. It was a one-time experience, but I think that's not for no the sinister reason I'm telling you. It's just for pure information. I think if we really do it in terms of whatever the missing bit in the field, we've missed to put it in the containers, all the drops that we've, even the plasma water, even the vapor, whatever it is missing, giving the moment we complete it. That's just what I have experienced, and many, well, 4 or 5 times, and to me it's an accurate, honest result. That's just how I thought. But what do you think? Am I sort of taking into a dream? I don't know. Please, you tell me. Thank you so much for laughing. And you understand it. Honestly, what is that really? Do we complete it? Like, really finish it off if you wanted to? I'm not sure. So I've done pillars here. Like I have, I hold them. You know, these are all connected to it anyway. It's just everything. I mean, I hold this and that, everything. Nothing touches me. The understanding of the field comes to me in 3D with like the I'm holding the paint pen towards into my palm, into a certain point where the Chinese reflection, I can't even pronounce it. That those charts, according to those charts, where I feel what I feel around here, and when I hold it, I don't know what I have even put there, but it comes. It's like it's the same feeling, pain pen holding feeling. Sometimes I feel some sort of wind. I change my face and turn my face other side if I'm paranoid. If it was my wind, but no, there is wind coming sometimes. Trying to complete the circuit, but it sometimes completes itself while I feel quite levitated, not with any other thing, but in his soul, in heart. I'm not sure. We've heard too many things, many testimonials. Believe it or not, I'm a very experimental person. You perhaps know it, but try to put it at least in the end to a certain point where I can at least on some sort of a level can share it with you. But would that be the reality where when I sort of try to interact it, I can't really do it. No, I can't really interact with it. But if I just hold put something like, I feel the vibration there through this, I don't know why, and I put it this way and that way. There are some certain indication where it comes to inside you as an intuition where you need to do things. Go ahead, do it. Really, it helps you. It really does help you, and it gives you a direction where there is no sort of stable surface to put, where we can explain it with today's understanding. I don't know how I can really explain everything with today's understanding, but I just do it. And whatever it happens, it happens. And with this, once it flipped all the way towards the other way, and I do not know why. And I have tried to find the magnets, if they ever moved with the vibration of the earthquake or so forth, whatever. No, some things happens, and perhaps with the elevation of your soul momentarily, it really does have a field. Sorry, have I lost everything, everyone? Am I back? Thank you. Perhaps we all have some kind of field interaction with the ability of our understanding momentarily. It is really not really knowledge. It's like excitement, really. It's just like, it is an goosebumps. You can't, but it's not coming from the unit or anything, that no intelligence, no nothing. You that increase the elevation of the excitement with your own intuition. You've done it with yourself, and then you're interacting. You felt something. Oh, that gave me some. What happened there actually is I don't know. To my understanding, is everything is just us absolutely interacting with the spirituality, so forth. Everything we're doing, everything, but the understanding comes with your excitement of the moment that you. I don't know what that excitement means. It really does gives you the suggested power for the moment. What is that? All the friends around you, or on your own, or your materials around you, there are those. Everything gives us, I think, some kind of a field interaction where we honestly control it or suggest it or power it. That's just how I felt. It should be that way because the most of the interaction should be able to come from us, so that we could not control it, be one with it, and then we could just like, with dedicated energy, we can suggest it, and then I think we're there. It's so dreamy, but that's where it comes, as it came to a point where we think it is the plasma water. Plasma water will go up to a point where, there is absolutely just us and excitement, really, because we're here. The more we get, if you don't come to an understanding, that's just what my understanding, to a point where we should, step up. With doubting, I am doubting, everyone's doubting, perhaps comes and goes. It's not going to step up. It is going to step up where we think it's like all You see this? I see this as a chest. You see, look, I've done millions of things. I move it here. I take that. I don't know. I put that, see where it's going to snap. And I put some sort of, this is all iron in there, Gans, and the magnets holds it. Silly, I know. Totally no. Of course, the heavy one, our lovely red one. And so I move it like a chess. I play it like a chess. What I feel, I don't see any levitation or anything, but what I feel is as soon as I move this, my ear rings. Left ear. Oh, that's it. It's still ringing right now. I do not know. I know there are certain things has to be done to be able to achieve the certain configuration in terms of levitation or anything related to this. But what I believe, whatever the configuration you'll have there, if you bring yourself up to a point, you complete the configuration and you are instantly there. That's just how I feel. I haven't watched anything other than the teachings where it was published and see where it goes. All intuition, all where it is going to take me to a next exciting moment. Tried it with the radios, with the times, moment. Is it going to stop there? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? Even if I'm not here, I'm thinking about this. If it's going to have an effect on me where I'm on the other side of the world doing my work. And it all does, as long as I think about it, as long as I connect with the feeling of it, as if I'm next to it, whatever. It gives me this same same sizzle. Do you know what I mean? Like I sizzle, like I feel it, and it's there, and so am I floating? No, but I'm there. I feel the same interaction as if I'm next to it. I'm there. So that's just sort of sampling the feeling where I was actually, feeling it. Like I took it to a point where I should stop. Thank you so much for listening to me. But how would you think about the floating idea? Like I'm gonna put a sort of a tube here.
I think the noise will drive you crazy from that motor. I've had some noisy motors, and I've had to can those experiments because it just interferes too much with my peace
I
of
totally
mind.
know it. There were videos where I didn't hear your voice from the motor of the
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
I have ideas. I'm gonna put some cottons and I'm gonna make it soundproof. I hope.
yeah. And there might be other ways of achieving the airflow that you want to levitate the ball and so on as well to that are quieter perhaps. Well, thanks for showing all your neat devices there and giving us an idea of this relationship that we develop between the devices and our lives. You're saying, for example, how you could be on another side of the planet and you still have this feeling relationship with your devices that is tied in with this enthusiasm, this excitement that you feel when you're building it. It's a certain anticipation, this awesomeness, that something new is coming out and there's a chance that you could discover something new at any moment. There's a chance you could see just in your random placings of things and the way you move things around, and suddenly, maybe one time in all those thousands of movements, suddenly something lights up that didn't light up before, you know.
Sure.
So,
That's the idea. That's it. Thank you. Yeah. Well,
and
yeah.
and in that
Yes.
way you complete it in that moment where you make the move, that something just, you know, clicks, and it's like, all right, this is the way it should have been. Finally I found the configuration. And then maybe at that point some of the magic will actually happen. Like I was saying, something could light up, something could change in its shape or color or something like that.
Honestly, I know what the Gans water should be put in the containers, perhaps suggested, and even all that. I'm not doing it. I'm doing something really. I'm trying to do something where I haven't been told. I know what I've been told. I know what it means. It's if you do that, it's a good thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. I'm adding something else, and well, I in the end I do that, of course. I add what is needed, what is suggested, but I want to see what I want to see first.
Exactly.
This is
Well, as
very
Mr.
true.
Keshe
Yeah.
says, 3 years ago, when he first started getting into all these reactors and so on, he said there's as many reactors in the universe as there are stars in the universe. So there's many different kinds of reactors, you know, available to us as there are stars in the universe. So this is an amazing concept. When I heard that initially, I went, wow, that's what a concept. And it's not like we're all trying to build the same ultimate reactor. It's whatever we build that gets us to the next step is the ultimate reactor for us at that moment. So, yeah. And sometimes even just seeing the image of someone else's is enough to get us to the next step. We'll go, oh, that's a cool idea. I'm going to do that now, and you head off on a different tangent for a
It has
while.
always been like that. All the ideas I have seen, I have gathered, I have collected. Um, well, you can convince yourself that they're all your ideas, but all the other ideas come from, and it's just gathering and just putting it in terms of your way into your mind and just coming out with another idea. It's just a lovely thing where I think I've never imagined this kind of technology in my life, but now I think I can do this and that and that and this. And have I created this? No, I haven't created this at all. But I'm just playing with that. So there's no need to feel like a god in this subject, and just like go ahead with it. Like, and as they were told, and just don't do that. You don't have to do that. Do your own thing, and just like, okay, I'll just go ahead with that. No need to be aggressive. I don't think. I don't know. Um, Other devices do it. Well, do it. No need to um, reflect the interaction, or just like, I don't know. Don't worry about it. Do it. Just don't talk about it. Do what you want to do. Everybody has to do it this way, which is a good thing. I think QEYZ, all the instruments will come up slowly, I believe. Don't you think? Slowly. Everyone's going to feel like, oh, yeah, I can do I can create this machine, and perhaps, and it works.
Yep, there'll be those who are the creators, and there'll be those who are the audience, because the creators need a bit of an audience too, to watch their creations and to appreciate their creations too. So
Yeah.
it's that's why we're here in a way in this group, to show each other our creations and celebrate with. It looks like celebrating with drinks in terms of all the crystal glasses we've seen recently. It's funny between Dubai with its celebrations and the crystal that's being used for some of the new reactor combinations. It's
Sure, I've
coming together.
noticed. Yes, this was all luck from a thrift store where I could find whatever I
I
found.
was exactly doing the same thing today as I did laundry. I went to the thrift store next door. I was looking at glasses that look exactly like that and some taller flask type enclosures that were nice sort of cut crystal. I think they use it as part of probably a brandy set or some sort of thing like that. And some of those structures look interesting in terms of creating a multi-level reactor combination.
Oh yeah, crock pots. I found hundreds of them, and I thought I've seen many videos where people are doing nano coating using the crock pots and some
Yeah,
of the things.
I've got one out on my deck here, and
Oh, so good.
I
Have
just
you
I
used
just
it?
nano coated a wire formed dragonfly that I'd
Oh,
made a
so good. Please
couple of
show us.
years ago.
I've been holding this in my hand. May I stop the video if that's okay?
Yes, you're probably hard to hold it by now.
Thank you so much.
Put up a different image here temporarily. We have to get going here soon. So, let me see what else I'm just gonna put up here.
Rick, can I ask a question about plasma batteries? Maybe I need a. If I'm just going to power the reactor itself, I make the plasma batteries. I can use the Gans water on the tissue, right? Instead of Gans.
I don't know if that's true or not because they're supposed to make a Gans paste, as the way I understand it, and that it partially dries up or almost completely dries up at a certain point. And
But that's usually when you're powering into the grid or powering some electrical device.
True.
Though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you get heat.
Mm-hmm. And
so, don't know. Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know if just the Gans water itself is enough to make one of those batteries, or whether you need the more need the field, the material fields, the actual Gans itself as the basis for the fields to operate on.
Power motor can't use the water, right? For sure.
Well, I don't know. This is the thing. I was wondering in terms of a rotating reactor, can the gradient, can the plasma gradient be created and create some sort of electrical resultant out of that plasma gradient?
The motors will carry heat and stuff, and but if you're going to power into the grid and power the stacker units, I guess you have to use the paste because it's got to dry out until everything's nano coated. Maybe then you wouldn't. I was wondering though if you could use the water just as a battery to power the motor, because the water part would be before the electrical devices that would heat up. I don't know. I guess I need to try it. I guess, see if I don't blow up my house.
Blow up your house with water. Wouldn't that be something? Well, yeah, it's a difficult concept how to think of these fields that are like, we want to work with fields, we want to think of it in terms of fields and so on, and not get involved too much with the matter. But how do we extract or use these fields that are embedded in, for example, in water or in water vapor or in or in just the fields themselves that are outside of a container that is like, for example, a glass of what looks like water. And especially when it's Gans water that's been up to 10 or 20 times had distilled water added to it, so you can be guaranteed it's mostly distilled water and has just fields or maybe some nanoparticles widely spread apart in the actual water itself, or maybe it's just the water is structured in that manner now due to being exposed to the fields of the Gans. In any case, it's a mind-blowing concept that the water could be storing or have potential in it to that extent that an actual motor could be run by a clear glass of water here and a clear glass of water beside it, say the potential between the two, or some manner like that. That's,
I think of it as the Ganses are magnetizing the water. And like the way your computer stores everything on magnetic hard drives, it's the magnetic fields that are storing all your information. I think that's what's happening with the water. And that's why you can actually sample foods. I think of it as like sampling, like a recorders, the keyboard samplers, you pass the fields of a banana through the water while it's getting energized and magnetized by the Gans, and it magnetizes, it stores the information.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, and that totally makes sense. But what about the idea of a motor, for example, where we have actual, translational energy? We've got a material stuff that's rotating, chunks going around.
Yeah, and heating up. I think that's a big problem with using the water instead of the dried Gans paste, Okay. If I can take a minute, Alex said something about there are two kinds of the capacitor batteries. One is the gravitational, and the other is the magnetical, depending on which way you loop the feedback loop. I think he said if you put the gravitational back on itself, then it's a gravitational battery, and the other one and you do the other way around. And not sure how to wire that. And you should use two. That's why you have. I'm not sure. Anybody know about that?
Well, he did wire up one device to the ground circuit of the household circuitry, and maybe that's a gravitational, I'm wondering, setup, as opposed to being attached to the current or positive wire of the home system. So I'm not sure if that's what you're meaning or something different.
I'm not sure what he meant. I'm not really sure what he meant. I think he just reversed the direction of it. If it's going out one way, it's gravitational. If it's going out the other way, magnetical. You just loop the. I'm not sure though. That's what I was asking. Actually, I don't know if anybody experimented with that. Okay, I got to make some plasma batteries, so I can't power this thing. I have a little one I fired up, and I immediately opened the central core. I'm spinning it at like 600 RPM, and then immediately open the central core. It's not fast enough to be a spaceship, but the plastic is limiting the field. But it's so much more powerful than the big one I got here. It's a strange thing. And when I started rotating it counterclockwise, I looking at it, from looking down, I was looking at it, I went, okay, great. When I looked over at the other big reactor, the fields were gone. It was completely empty. I could see them. It was like a vacuum cleaner or something. It just pulled the fields or something. I don't know. It dissipated the fields completely, collapsed the field, or I'm not sure. So I started turning it clockwise, and I'm getting a buildup of the fields. It's really, I think these coils are designed to be used with the capacitors, with the batteries. You know, that's why I gotta try that, because they're not radiating out. I'm not getting a central core out of it. You know, and but so I'll try that. But the little one, something about this configuration of this crystal inside a crystal inside a crystal. You know, I mean, the reactor itself, the array, you know, all these arrays, I mean, you use the stacker units, you have 3 of them, and you can do it that way. You can make them as a star formation. That's a different array. The medical ones have a different array. You need to do a different one for the legs, the way you array the reactors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's something about this reactor configuration, the 12 reactors in this configuration that focuses the fields. I think I got to ask Mr. Keshe, he'll be the only one. No, it might be he tells me you don't need all that, you're doing extra work, because the first one is a star formation. It'll focus it being, you know what I mean? It'll do it, and I'm just doing extra work. I don't know. But I think the 3 layers, you know, it's a crystal, you know, because of the ratios. So, I don't know. I guess I need to show Mr. Keshe at some point. I almost did it last week, but I had my hand up, and then I think he promoted me, and I hesitated. I think I missed my cue.
I'd like
Anyway.
to talk about the water just a little bit, in terms of an insight from a religion point of view, where Muslim religion point of view, and water is very important. Is so important where you can influence people with water, where you can pray to water, where I have experienced all this all my life, and I have tried to understand to a point where what it would mean, how it would be used to be able to do really, really good things. So what happens is a person prays, and then person blows into water, air, with the intention of, look, this is 100% solid information, where it is a reality, where people are doing it daily. Some special days, perhaps, where what happens is you like to give the water to your son or daughter, or to your very beloved friend, and you pray, you give it to the person, and they drink, and that's it. It's a field interaction. You don't even think about it, and then they walk away, and they go and they claim they're all right. And it's not magic, kind of. There is darker side of it, absolutely, but this is not the way that has been done to flourish the darker side, whatever. But if it is a reality where I have my mother has taken to me to a sort of, in brackets, magician, where I have looked at in a copper bucket where it contained water, and it was sort of intended to me to see some things in it from the person, where they prayed and they blowed air into it and stuff. When these are all reality. Many millions of other examples are happening daily in everywhere, where we're trying to understand the water. people are using water. Water is to create it to be used by human beings, by the, as Mr. Keshe say, the man of the universe. Everyone, everything. Water is to be used, to be controlled, and not to, do the negativity or anything with it. Yes, it works. Why don't you try it? Come on, go ahead. I tried it many, many times. With intention is the first thing in the Muslim religion, where before you start your praying, you do, it's called niyat. Okay, you say, I am here to do this. I am here to do this and this many things. That's it. You do it with the full of your heart. You let it go, and then you're there. You're doing it. You're honestly doing it, and then you finish it. You feel that dedicated moment where you attempt it. You let it go. You've done it. Wow, what a joy! There you go. Haven't felt it like everywhere where we had that joyous moment in our lives. It's the same thing. It's praying. It's it's praying. It's we're doing all the spiritual things at that very moment, because it's actually is the us where are the gods, where influencing everything else in the whole universe. That's just us. Is our intention is where dedicates the moment where we're sort of, you know, wanted to be here, and we swear to do it. That's the intention. We're doing it. Go ahead, and water, simplest thing, where we have really such an impressive results from the health pan, pain pan, unbelievable. Water. Say something and put it in the freezer is the same thing to me. It happened many times. I have felt, because I believed in it, perhaps is where it's true or not. I felt much better. All my childhood, I've had waters instead of aspirin or whatever. I felt better. How? I worked in the airline company. I have all the members of the companies. They do it. People who have really terrible sickness or terrible freakouts or whatever, they're giving what, like chocolate filled in, what are they called, bonbons, or as if they are medicine. Or they feel much better after a minute. Much better. It has always been the case. So water is there us to be able to use it, but certain intention, like as if you're going, before you go into a prayer or a church or anywhere that you prefer, be in the intention and hold it, don't hold it, feel it, don't feel it, be there with the water in your presence, and that's it. That's your water. Well, if you don't believe me, try it with your what do you call, voltage meters, or where you that pH detections and everything. You just try it with that, and you will see the same effect. I have tried it many times, and it works. Keshe works. Everything works. I love it. It's just so good. I so love it. I love you guys. Thank you for listening to me. Perhaps I don't know, madness up its, peak. And thank you. Rick, I love you.
Thank you, Helper, for your for revealing the things you did there tonight. It was quite interesting hearing you speak. Appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
I love you. Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right, gonna have to wrap things up here. We're getting into close to the online teaching time here. So, any last comments from anybody before we end? Now's your chance.
I need a lathe.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And unfortunately, we didn't get that recorded on the Zoom, so we'll have to upload it from live stream. I'll get that taken care of the next day or two here. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and I'll end the live stream. Let me see. There we go. Bye, everybody, on live stream.